Hello and welcome to the Alpha Artist Q&A. Today we have an immense pleasure to have Helio Vianna, who has been one of Alpha's first collaborator. So Helio, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Manuela. Thank you, Renata. Nice to meet you again, although it's virtually now, because I think we have 4 years that we don't meet
Yes.
presentially. Yes, 2016. And
Yeah.
I'm extremely pleased to meet you here and especially to talk about art.
No, we are so happy to have you here. Helio, I always ask our guests to tell us a little bit about how 2020 is going for you. So I'd love to hear where in the world are you right now and how is this year going for you?
Well, I've been living in Mexico City since 2018 when I came to take the mastership program in visual arts at UNAM. I was about to finish my thesis, studying for the doctorate program, working a lot at my studio, and celebrating the fact that my entire family came to Mexico to surprise me with a birthday visit the days before quarantine started. And they left quickly before the airline started to cancel flights to Brazil. And from March until the end of June, I stayed all by myself with no kind of contact, but virtual. No? And one of my art pieces was put in auction at a very famous auction house here in Mexico. And for the first time in its history, the process was completely online. So exhibitions went online, parties, friends meeting, everything became online. Skype became some sort of spot for romantic dates. And the fact that I live it completely alone in a property that is kind of Mexican hacienda at Tlalpan, south part of the city. I don't know if you know Mexico City.
Not too well.
And with a huge courtyard, terrace, etc., but without roomies, relatives, or boyfriend, it drove me crazy. So I fell into a deep depressive state. It wasn't easy. And I only saw people when I heard the garbage truck bell and I had to put the garbage out. Those were the only 2 minutes in my daily life in which I could see my neighbors. Ironically, in the middle of this rare situation, one of my galleries here started selling a lot during this period. I could never imagine. I sold more than ever. I was almost sold out. Actually, they only have one last piece available today. And against all odds, my life changed, I think, a lot. By the end of June, in one of my urgent escapades to the supermarket, I ran into a guy that I had met last December. We met between the groceries and got surprised that we were neighbors. We exchanged contacts, went for tacos, to sit at a square like a picnic with safe distance and things like that. But after excessive safe distance, 110 days without even pressing hands with no one, safe distance went to hell and we couldn't be apart anymore. Since we were neighbors, like I had somebody to share my life with, my daily life. And after 2 months together, I moved to his house. My previous house became our co-shared studio, since he also works in the creative industry as a high fashion designer. And you may think we are crazy, but we are just married.
Oh my God, congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
a lot of things
Wow.
did change for you. That's awesome.
COVID
Uh,
love.
Wait, but let's go back a little bit to, I would love to know how all of this started. When did you decide to become an artist, and how was this process for you? Like now we know that like it was so many amazing things happening, but can you talk about the early years, and maybe like if you could like add a little bit about how we met, and like how did Alpha perhaps helped like in on those initial years?
Well, initially, I was in the beginning of my career. I worked as an arts manager. I studied cultural production in Rio de Janeiro, and was also studying international relations. So when I went to Parque Lage to, I got a scholarship at Parque Lage to study arts. Initially, I didn't have the intention of being an artist. I only wanted to study more about arts so that I could sell better the artists I was working with. And then, well, it came naturally. One semester later, I got another scholarship to pick up, to choose one course. Initially, I wanted visual art, but well, I I stayed at painting. So, and in few months after starting painting, and I confess I had never painted until the year we met. It was my first experience in painting. On painting was at
Mm-hmm.
this course at Parque Lage, and then by the end of the course, I saw the calling for Geração Alpha. By that time, it was called Geração, and I
Yeah.
applied, entered. You put me one of my artworks for vote for votation, and I was chosen
The
by
winner.
the winner of the month, and then everything started.
So it was the very beginning for you. It was the very beginning for us too. And I recall the day you came to the space where we're going to have our first exhibition. So you're a part of that first group of artists who trusted us and who became a like core like part of Alpha, like were a part of our first exhibition. And I remember you brought, I think it was Mexico, like, and Austria, those two canvases to be stretched at the space, and that's the day we met
Yes,
in person. So it was definitely a very important moment for, I believe, both of our careers.
totally. Both of us, and it was something totally unexpected. If the Helio from 6, 7 years ago had met me and told me, and somebody told him that, you're going to be an artist, you're going to be represented by art galleries, and I would laugh. I couldn't believe, honestly.
No, it's amazing. So Manuela was just showing one of your artworks, Austria, which is the one of the canvases that you brought for our first exhibition. Can you talk about the work in itself, what inspires you, like, and also a bit of your technique? Um,
Well, the source of my inspiration, how can I put it? All my projects have as a starting point the report, which is my exhibition last year was, which is why my exhibition last year was named Relatus in Latin. My work is completely related to my background. I must say that although I am taking my master's in visual arts and studied contemporary painting at Parque, my bachelor degrees were in arts management and in international relations. I intended to work with cultural diplomacy, had worked with the Brazilian Ministry of Foreign Affairs when it was a respectful institution, let's make it clear, and with the United Nations on the team that organized the Rio Plus 20 conference on sustainable development. So this multicultural work environment and my exquisite taste and curiosity on learning different languages was on one of the main sources of inspiration. But most of all, the intercultural shocks I had experienced among people from all the countries. I also had a huge interest on typographies, different alphabets and semiotic studies, which is why I started to fulfill my canvases with words, sentences, texts, poems. And then I decided, as an artist that was also an internationalist, to represent one country on each artwork by translating visually its cultural repertoire, painting its own slangs, words, placards, labels, and other symbolic references. Charisma that one country has over the other countries' populations is considered in foreign policy a power called soft power. That is the power of dissuasion through a kind of cultural seduction. If we think of Brazilian soft power, for example, we think of aspects from Brazilian culture that are easily identified for foreign people when they think of Brazil, especially the cliches, caipirinha, samba, carnival,
Totally.
etc. So when it's about representing other countries, cultures, mine included, there was a concern of displaying a respectful representation. That was when I decided to interview natives from each country. I needed to talk to them, to hear them speak for their perspectives. I wanted to get their repertoire, to understand their countries through their eyes. It turned my project into a collaborative art process. Every time I plan an artwork for the series that is called Soft Power, that is the reason, and that I consider my main project until now, I put myself on a kind of cultural immersion for the Peru painting, for example, this one here.
I was going to ask you, after you relocated to Mexico, how do you think your work changed, or the idea behind continues being the same? But like, of course, visually, like they all look so different from each other.
I love this exercise of dressing up another identity, pretending that I belong to another culture for a while. Huh? I think if everybody could have this experience of walking in someone's shoes, probably we would have a more peaceful and tolerant world. So the most shocking perception that I had about my work since I came to Mexico, it's because it was easier to represent Mexico since I wasn't here. So when I'm here and I want to do a work on Mexico, I try to forget where I am. I try to forget what I know. Also, I assume that my completely ignorance and try to be open-minded. I hear people. I hear native people talking about what they think about their country, their place.
No biases about that culture and that place.
No, it must be respectful. They have the speakerphone. I'm only the messenger.
And is it there a standout piece that you would like to talk about and share with us? Something special that you already produced or that you would like to produce in the future?
Oh, exactly. The painting in Mexico was the piece that started everything I'm doing.
I love that too.
When I painted it, I didn't have the plan of representing the soft power of each country or being political. I just had to present an artwork at the school and my teacher asked me to try bigger. So I had this blank 2 meters canvas without knowing what kind of words I would put on it.
Yeah, and that's something very interesting because, like, for those who don't know, Helio's work tend to be very large scale, like this artwork showing on the screen. It's like you're saying 2 meters high, and when it becomes a reproduction, a print, it kind of takes like a different life. It becomes a complete different work, which is very, very interesting and one of my favorite things about our collaboration.
Yes, in fact, in this our first exhibition in Barra da Tijuca, I had the opportunity to bring the originals to compare and put beside the with the most
the edition. Yeah, no, for sure. We're approaching the end, and I'd love to learn about a moment in your life, either as a professional or like a personal moment when things change for you, an inflection point.
An inflection point that... Oh, thanks for the question. Of course, there have been lots of them. One of the biggest responsibilities I got during the maturation of my project was the importance of defending cultures and exposing ethnocide. We've so problematic and criticized mania of mixing my role as an artist and the role of an anthropologist. I found myself on this position of a protester and activist that not necessarily pleases everybody. My art is political, sometimes controversial. I cannot count how many times I have been accused or judged for cultural appropriation, for example, even while respecting their cultures and listening to the natives' voices. And when I call my interviews natives, I am in some way problematizing the use of the term natives within the anthropological perspective that normally is colonized perspective. Somehow it's ironic to treat people from the countries that colonized almost the entire world as a native to be studied. It's a total inversion of how they can see themselves. My way of somehow paying back for their exotic characteristics. As a revelation, I noticed that my work is directly connected to time. I already knew that it was connected to my surroundings, no? But I only perceived that I was registering a specific way of thinking from a specific time, year, and context when 5 years after painting Russia, that is at Alpha, I realized that the way I saw the country in 2014 was completely disconnected from the perspective I had about the Russians in 2019. So I decided to paint Russia too, that in discursive issues has nothing related to the first version, that evidently has its value for registering a previous perspective. We artists are always swimming against the streams. So when the streams change, we also need to change the direction. I don't think artists are always satisfied with what we have. The most recent inflection point I've had was the bypass of the soft power series into other perspectives, such as generation branch series, like Queer Power, for example, a series of artworks focused on LGBTQ plus community, repertoire, code slangs, vocabulary, and symbols. And finally, as I flirt a lot with design.
I was gonna say one is fine, but let's go for the final inflection point.
As I flirt a lot with design, even at the point of hiring web designers to work with me for matching the selected words on the sketch plan like this, like on a spiral, for example, who's a fashion designer. And I can take out of my mind my first and until then only experience on designing clothes for Alpha A Inc. When you
It's true.
invited me, say for cyclists, that was released during the road cycling competition at the Olympic Games.
And the Olympics, yeah, in Rio. That
It was
was
fantastic.
Another memorable moment for us, for our collaboration.
And I guess it was the last time we met.
I believe Marcos, who is
I have a question.
Today, has a question. Yes.
Yeah. At the first, congrats for the Alpha for the Q&A, and congrats, Helio, for your incredible work. My question to you is the purpose of your work still the same before as the pandemic?
Yes, I guess it. First, in the beginning, I thought it would compromise my work because I need to be in contact with people. But if before the pandemic, I had the opportunity to find immigrant people in Mexico City that I could have an interview. And it's very hard to find someone from India or Azerbaijan, or there are countries that it's very difficult to find a tourist from that country. But since everything went online, it also allowed me to connect and do the interviews by Skype as we are doing now, and record it and organize a file with all the reference, all the interviews that with people who has collaborated with me, because all this content is not by me. I organize it, I visualize, I somehow idealize it, but this is not my repertoire. I've never been to Peru. I need Peruvian people's voices to make a canvas on Peru. And during the pandemic, what changed? Not exactly changed about besides that, but the sensation that I had, the crazy situation of having nobody to touch, nobody to smell, to kiss, to savor, or to give a hug, no one at all. It's like a disease called, I don't know how to put it in English, it's fome de pele. It's like skin hunger. That neurologists point that people who are confined completely alone felt it. And this somehow motivated me to initiate another series of works, another project that has no relation with the words, and it's another series of artworks related to my memories of having affection, of having. I represent these images. I was organizing my files with photographs with the dear people in happy situations and that I miss so much, miss them. And I was feeling like, am I still human? Do I still have a body? Is it touchable? So I was feeling like somehow I was becoming abstract without the touch. And that is why I'm getting these photographs and producing images based on them into something abstract. Like it's an abstraction of my memories of contact, of physical contact. And this is my, well, you're knowing by first hand of my next project.
Thank you. Congrats again.
So, Helio, to wrap up the interview, let's just share with our audience very quickly something that inspires you and that kept you happy, like, and alive during those troubled times this year? It can be a book you read, or maybe a movie, something that was important for you.
Ooh, besides being writing a thesis, and I have read a lot, and I have watched lots of series, movies. Well, a book that I'm reading now.
Or anything, like a song, like exercise. We've had people sharing like a variety of different things. What was it for you that kept your spirit high?
Well, there's this book that I'm reading called Calot, because in English is Default, by a Brazilian writer called Leonardo Valente. Recently released. It's about a dystopian future, not so future and not so dystopian if we think about it, in which people are so indebted, so slave of the financial market that they individually decide not to pay their debts anymore, and they stop doing it at the same day. I cannot say anymore without giving spoilers, but I strongly recommend it. And I was watching a Chilean called La Jauría, Little Fires Everywhere, from USA.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Fantastic. And I've read the book too during the pandemic.
Okay. So we're taking notes, and we're gonna read and watch those recommendations. Thank you so much again for being with us today. Again, such a pleasure to catch up with you and to learn about all of the amazing things that happened since the last time we saw each other in person in 2016. We're thankful for the years of so many years of support, and on our side we're going to continue cheering for you to continue having this amazing success that you do have now.
Thank you.
Okay.